911.
Hi, a friend of ours, we think overdosed, and we need an ambulance at an address in Southeast Portland.
Where are you right now?
I am standing in the basement with a kid that has a purple face that I do not believe has a pulse.
Okay, how old is this kid?
This kid is probably 22.
And he's unconscious and not breathing.
I don't believe that he is breathing at this point. I am making the assumption that he did heroin last night.
Is anyone aware of who this person is or where he came from?
I have an ID.
Okay, what's his last name?
W-H-I-P-P-S.
And his first name?
His name is Kyle.
And what's his date of birth?
His date of birth is 09/29/1986.
It begins with silence. The first injection, the first high, the first pill. Our friends say, "I trust you not to tell." And we don't want to lose them, so we don't stand up and speak out and shout, "You have to stop," and "I'm going to help." We stay silent, and the silence wins. But if we stay quiet now, we will be quiet in the end, when we lose our friends and gather here, bowing our heads, remembering the dead, with the moment of silence that never relents. High school students are dying every day from alcohol and drug use. Now is the time to break the code of silence.
Hello, my name is Penny Whips, and I'm the founder of Just One Time, a nonprofit that reaches out to students across the country. On September 7th, 2008, I received a phone call from my daughter that literally changed my life forever. My youngest son, Kyle, died of an accidental heroin overdose. What was so shocking to me about his death, not only the fact that he died of a heroin overdose, was the fact that he was surrounded by his friends the night he died, and no one felt like they could say anything. In fact, one of his friends came up to me and said, "Penny, I knew in my gut I should say something, but I just didn't want Kyle to get mad at me, so I thought I'd let him sleep it off."
A friend of mine came up who had gone down to wake up Kyle. He came up and said, "Hey, Kyle's not getting up." And I thought, oh, Kyle's just joking around again. He really doesn't want to get up. He's Kyle. He can be stubborn sometimes. Another one of our friends went down to check on him and came upstairs and said, "Kyle's sick. We need to get him help." And he seemed to know what he was talking about. When the paramedics came, I took them downstairs because I knew where Kyle was, and I had not seen Kyle yet. I led them down to where he was. I opened the door, and Kyle was laying there. He looked like he was just sleeping, but he was a little bit blue. And I walked in the door, and I was just thinking, oh, well, he's just having a drug overdose of some kind. They're paramedics. They come from a hospital. They have science and medicine on their side. They should revive him. And I opened the door and I said, "Go in, revive him." And they took one look at him and they said, "Oh no, he's dead." Never thought that anything like that could ever happen to anyone I know. We're too smart. That kind of thing doesn't happen to you or your friends. It always happens to other people.
What do you say when your friend's doing something dangerous? All of those boys knew, but they just didn't have the right words. They didn't know what to say to him. But you know what? This is one thing I do know. Not one of those boys, Kyle included, in their wildest dreams, thought that they would wake up and someone would be dead. None of them thought. Kyle assumed he would have a good time, wake up the next morning, and live another day. As I travel across the United States and I talk to students, I'm learning about this code of silence. It's kind of a pact that you guys have. It's friends don't tell. And if you do, you're the very worst kind of narc. So when I talked to students, I pushed back a little and said, okay, why? Why? These were Kyle's very best friends. These weren't kids that he had just met. He had grown up with them. So they all trusted each other. They talked about their hopes and dreams and things they wanted to do with their life. So why weren't they feeling like they could say something? So when I talk to kids about this, I push back a little bit. So you're telling me that you love your friend too much not to get him in trouble, or you don't want them to get mad at you, or you don't want to be known as a narc. It sounds to me a little bit selfish, like you're worried more about your reputation and your comfort and your popularity than you are your friend's safety. I call that selfish, and Just One Time is really challenging students to love their friend with a protective love that says, you know what, I'm okay with you getting mad at me because what you're doing scares me. And you and we've talked about the things you want to do with your life. And what you're doing right now does not equal this outcome. It equals something over here that could have a life-altering consequence. You must love your friends with a protective love that says, I'm okay. I'm willing to be uncomfortable in order to get you help.
You know, it's been several years since my son died in 2008. And a lot of parents, as well as teachers and students, ask me, Penny, how can you do this? This has got to be hard to talk about your son's death over and over and over, listening to the 911 call and just looking at the visuals that you have. And this is what I tell students. If one child hears the assembly and actually makes a healthy choice, it is so worth me being uncomfortable. Because, you know, after all, I'm asking students to really stand up and be uncomfortable in order to get their friends help. So Just One Time, I look at it as Kyle's legacy. Kyle's story, his life was so much more than he died. And in this way, through Kyle's death, we're helping kids across the country hopefully make better choices.